So, Toni Erdmann, this is a German comedy that was a big festival hit. I know.
A German comedy?
Sorry,
is hilarious.
I was bulldozing straight past your stereotype gag.
I'm sorry.
For which I apologize. You're right. It is absurd, the idea of the Germans making humor. What? So, it got a really great reception at various festivals over the course of the year, and including at London Film Festival, where you saw it, Danny.
I saw it. I saw this La La Land. In retrospect, greatest decision of my life.
Incredible decision. It is a tricky sell. It's very long. It's very strange. It's not like quite crazy enough to be like an out-and-out comedy, but it's also like much more absurd than a sort of family drama. It is about a man, sort of aging father, who is a bit of a prankster character. He likes to make gags and like put on disguises and make people laugh in silly ways. And his efforts to reconnect with his daughter, who is a professional type. She works as a consultant.
Consultant, that's the one,
corporate consultant in Bucharest, in Romania. And I don't want to say too much about the plot, because one of the great pleasures of this movie is the way that it unfolds and is constantly taking surprising turns. I think it's one of those films where I'd really recommend like not watching the trailer, which I didn't do before going to see the movie.
Cold.
Not really deliberately. I just happened to not watch it, and I'd heard enough to like be like, oh, I trust that it will be good. And I really had a fantastic experience watching it. So I'm glad that there is no clip that we can play you because it's in German. I mean, bits of it are in English because they're like, it's the business world and that's the international language of business. But even so, there will be no clip. You will hear nothing, and this review will only be 30 seconds long because that is how cautious we are about revealing too much about the movie. No.
So I've seen it twice. The first time I was like, this movie is great. The second time I was like, well done, earlier version of me. Successfully identified the film was great.
Yeah. Just came out patting yourself on the back.
Yeah, it's a brilliant film which feels completely spontaneous and real. But I think on second viewing, I noticed the amount of craft that's gone into it. And
it's incredibly well-crafted movie.
Yeah, it's superbly written. And I think it's got this sort of realist visual approach. It's all kind of handheld cameras. But I think what's clever is like all the filmmaking is sort of within the frame, not really the camera, if you know what I mean. So as a brief example, like when the dad, Winifred, and Ines first meet, he comes into the kitchen and she's on her phone in the garden. And there's like, this big window between them. And there's like instantly establishes in a visual sense there's this gap between them. But you don't only thought of that on the second time round. I was like, and then if you go into that mindset, you're like, okay, everything is sort of production design within each of its life in a way you don't realize, but everything has been choreographed perfectly.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point because it has the aesthetic of like sort of kitchen sink drama.
Yeah,
it's very like flatly lit and but it's all part. It's like both a sort of family drama and also kind of comment on late capitalism and like globalization. And she is not overjoyed in her consultancy job. And she spends a lot of time in drab offices, and that aesthetic helps to basically sort of evoke like day-to-day tedium, which is like part of what the movie is about. And I also think it's kind of an ingenious way of like suckering you into a film which has like big splashes, like it has big strokes in it, but the way that the movie opens with these few like quiet, gently comical scenes of this like middle-aged man shuffling about his life makes you think that it's like some sort of Ken Loach style thing or whatever, and then it goes places that you would not expect.
Well, exactly. It's sort of like its dedication to realism is sort of like it earns the ability to sort of push the absurdity later.
Well, you buy all that stuff. It's all like
and like if it hadn't had established it, like the length is important for like making the final hour work, and there are certain moments where, like, in lesser hands, it would sort of jump the shark a little bit. But because it's just put in the effort, you kind of go with it in a way which is kind of, like, brilliant.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is to do with the performances as well. And the leads are absolutely brilliant. An actor called Peter Simonishek, who plays the dad, and Sandra Höller, who plays his daughter. They have great on-screen chemistry. And her performance is particularly like astounding. Like it's absolutely fearless and incredibly subtle. And for someone whose character is very buttoned up and sort of dour and unhappy a lot of the time, there is always so much going on in her features. Yeah, she just, I think, both in their interplay and just in what's going on in her own performance, there's always so much to like read and like.
Yeah, well, the film loosely is kind of about performance. And it's the idea that like as this kind of jokester, and he's like a sort of music teacher at a primary school, he's allowed to be kind of goofy and tell bad jokes. And then she has to, so he's like performs in a way which is kind of liberating, but her workplace means she has to perform in a way that's really constricting. And I think what's kind of clever is about like Toni Erdmann, like all this sort of embarrassment she thinks she's going to cause him, it's kind of like pales in comparison to all the kind of misogynistic digs she has to deal with in her daily workplace. And it's almost like, you know, at least the dad's performance is deliberately funny and it's supposed to be a joke.
Yeah. I mean, like without getting into it too much, the movie is all about that kind of line where the way in which performance, like you're saying, can be like liberating or humiliating, and that's constantly teetering in either direction. And it does such a great job of putting that idea in different contexts and tying it to like everyday existence, like straight from the beginning of the film.
So, in the opaque way we've discussed this plot, there's definitely a sort of dumber. I think like a lot of reviews I've said is like it's almost like someone's taken the plot of an Adam Sandler movie and made it into an actually good film. But one of the ways it's not like those films is that it doesn't really have a very easy moral to the story or conclusion, and it's refreshingly complex in the way father-daughter relationships are.
Yeah.
And it's not like happy-go-lucky dad will teach stuck-up daughter how to cut loose. Like that's not the story at all. And like the way it's constantly subverts your expectations of the premise is what makes it so thrilling. And it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it flew by. I've seen it twice now.
Yeah,
I
found that it went by very quickly. Like I thought I was going to be checking my watch a bit, but I really wasn't.
I think the key to it is that like every scene is good.
Yes.
That makes the film good. Even the sort of business speak scenes are really enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does all that stuff really well. And it's got a good momentum to it because it gets increasingly set-piecey as the movie goes along, which I think keeps you with it because, you know, it just like it becomes more dramatic, you know, in like sort of crescendo. And I think it ties the political and social commentary in very well. Like it's actually quite a political movie, but in like quite a subtle way. Like there's a scene where they visit a Romanian plant, and I guess the sort of commentary on the relationship between her like consulting firm and what they're doing to the local workers is like not particular, like it's pretty obvious, but it doesn't feel like shoehorned in to the movie, you know, because all that stuff ties back into her relationship with her dad as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's all very organically done.
Well, it's like almost like the sort of post, you know, people left out by capitalism, this her estranged relationship with her father is almost reflected in like everything. Like society is sort of everything's estranged from itself. There's no unity anywhere.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually quite true. It's a very relevant film. It feels like, you know, maybe unlike Trainspotting 2, it's very much a movie of its time.
Yes, I would say I've read a few reviews that have like made reference to clever European filmmakers I'm not familiar with. Someone referenced like Buñuel in a few reviews I read, and I haven't seen those movies. So to me, it's not quite like any movie I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's very original, and I don't know, it's a hard movie to discuss because it's so unique in its approach to its material.
It's very hard to categorize. I should mention, I don't think I mentioned who the director is. It's a woman called Maren Ardé. It's her third movie. The other two were apparently very well received. I have not seen them. She made a movie called The Forest for the Trees in 2003 and a film called Everyone Else in 2009. And they're all written by her as well as directed by her.
Well, I'm definitely going to watch those movies.
Yeah, exactly. It's the sort of film where you come out and it's like, I want to see everything this person has done.
Especially two movies, brilliant.
Yeah.
And catch up very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say definitely go see it and try and gather as many people you can. It's a good movie to watch with an audience because there are some huge belly laughs. And another thing I would say is like I was a bit worried it was going to be like critic funny, like a sort of like the pigeon gazing up its dick, staring at existence, what that film was called.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's funny, genuinely funny.
It's really funny.
It's not like wanky funny. It's funny.
Yeah. Check it out.
Oh, yeah. I would be surprised if this isn't in my top 3 movies of 2017.
There's 3 movies better than this one in 2017. It's going to be a bumper year for films. When Zach Braff heard something that changed his life, what he listened to. When John Cusack made a mixtape for his future wife, what did she listen to? And when Michael Madsen cut a guy's ear off, what was he dancing to? And when Tim Robbins showed Shawshank that he had enough, which record did he choose?